Jeffrey here. In this video, I want to show you the 5 toxic programming or mindsets that is probably killing the intimacy in your relationship right now. Now, before I begin this video, I want to let you know that I'll be hosting a free live masterclass on the 5 proven steps to rebuilding your relationship from the ground up. So be sure to stay tuned till the end of this video for the announcement on how you can get in on that. And don't forget to subscribe and click the bell button to be notified when I post new videos 3 times every single week. So I really want you to stay till the end of this video here because these 5 toxic programming that I'm going to show you are all the ones that we all have. And it's doing a ton of damage on your relationship. And once you're conscious of this and aware of it, just like my students and myself, you'll find that having a much healthier perspective and viewpoint on intimacy and sex and romance comes much easier. So the first toxic mindset that I want to address here is that, people tend to focus on quantity, not quality, when gauging the success of an intimacy in their relationship. The most common number we all hear is that healthy couples have sex 3 times a week. Is that actually true? Statistically, numbers-wise, yes. But in my experience, more sex doesn't always mean a good thing. So here's what happens when people try to meet that 3 times per week number. Like we said in the previous 2 videos, people start to obligate themselves to have sex, to have more intimacy, because they want to meet that number. And what happens is when you start obligating yourself to have sex, to want sex, you start to enjoy sex and intimacy less and less and less and less over time because it becomes more like a chore than just something you desire. So if you're trying to meet this number and you're not meeting this number and you're forcing yourself to meet it, you're probably making yourself and your partner want less intimacy in the long run. And that's where a lot of couples are. They have sex, but the sex is not mutually enriching. It's not amazing. It's not passionate because they're just going through the motions to meet a number. What I want you to focus on instead is on quality, not the quantity. So even if you just have intimate moments once a week, or sometimes even once every 2 weeks, the number doesn't matter. The main question is, whenever you two are intimate, is it mutually enriching and mutually passionate for the both of you? And if it is, you're doing things successfully. Because again, if you can make it mutually enriching for the both of you, what happens is you're going to train your mind and her mind as well to associate intimacy with you with more and more enjoyment over time. And so the desire for more intimacy will increase over time, naturally. Just focus on quality, not quantity. And the second toxic programming that we have kind of relates to the first one too, and is that we tend to be so focused on the short term, not the long term. What I mean by this is, when I see a married couple and they're together for a long time, both of them sort of expect intimacy to happen. They expect that intimacy should be part of a good relationship. And so when they think this, they start again forcing intimacy to happen. So when they're not getting the intimacy in the short term, they will get upset, they will get grumpy, they will get sarcastic, or however this negative behavior shows. But again, you're gonna put a lot of pressure on your partner to want to give you the intimacy. And what happens is, in the short term, if you give your partner a lot of pressure to give you intimacy, you will get that intimacy in the short term. But like we said, it starts a really negative cycle where you're making intimacy into more like a chore, an obligation on your partner's side, and that's gonna kill you in the long term. So what I want you to focus on instead is the long term, not the short term, and understand the sustainability of your actions here. Right? So if you're not getting the intimacy you need in the short term, what you need to focus on is not to pressure your partner to give you the intimacy, but to dig deeper to understand what is the underlying causes of the lack of intimacy, the lack of desire. And for that, you can watch my previous video on the 4 key reasons why intimacy may be dying in your relationship right now. And what you find is that once you identify the issue, and once you can raise the level of desire for intimacy naturally within your partner, you're going to set yourself up for a lot of success in the long term because, again, you're letting your partner to give you intimacy out of desire and you're continuing to let her associate intimacy with you as a positive thing rather than an obligation. The third toxic mentality that we have is expecting spontaneous intimacy. And this is something we get from movies all the time. We see a couple, they are just having dinner. Suddenly, they just can't get their hands off each other. They're all over each other. They have this passionate love-making scene, and that's it. It's over. But the reality is that in life, things rarely go like this. First of all, both of you have different circadian rhythms and hormonal rhythms throughout the day. In the morning, you're going to be very busy rushing off to work. In the daytime, you are busy working. At the nighttime, you are tired from work. And if you really are honest with yourself, it's rare that both of you are going to be wanting sex and spontaneous sex and intimacy at that particular moment, at that particular time. That's rare. And a lot of people expect this to happen, and they get very disappointed when they realize that the reality is actually quite far from it. And they start to feel guilty, and they start to question, is my relationship really that good? But I'm here to tell you that spontaneous sex is not common. Instead, scheduled intimacy and scheduled sex is not only much more common, but also much more desirable as well. Because the other thing that's inaccurate or unrealistic about the stuff that happen in movies is that hormones do take time to build. So if you watch my previous 2 videos on the importance of oxytocin and estrogen in the female's desire and openness to want to have intimacy, you realize that it takes time for those hormones to build. And it takes time for our bodies to feel the effects of those hormones. So if you're used to scheduling sex and scheduling moments of intimacy, you are giving yourself the time and space to be able to build those hormones, to allow those hormones to be secreted, to allow the anticipation to build, and to allow for really good intimate moments that are enjoyable for the both of you. So my recommendation here is don't be shy of scheduled moments of intimacy. Schedule it in your calendar, and don't try to expect spontaneous intimacy too much, because it's quite unrealistic. And number 4 is something we talked about before in the previous video, which is that you're focusing too much on technique and not rhythm. So whenever you are struggling with your intimacy, the first thing people go to is that they think about what sex toys to buy, what new sexual techniques they should get, what new approaches they should take to seduce their wife or their girlfriends. Intimacy is not about technique. It's all about rhythm. It's all about being able to take 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and slowly escalating your intimacy to the point where it gets more and more intense over time. And if you want more details on this, I want you to watch this video that I made about how to create that intense anticipation and intimacy in your relationship. And what I see is that what happens when people focus too much on technique is that they misdiagnose the problem. They tend to blame the problem on, I need new techniques. And when those new techniques don't work, they tend to blame their partner to say, hey, we just have different sex drives. Maybe we're not meant for each other. And the second problem it causes is that it causes a lot of men to be too mechanical in sex and to be too quick in sex, because they just go through the motions and they think, if I just do XYZ techniques, I'm good to go. But the truth is that it's rhythm. It's your approach and slowly taking 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and slowly increasing the anticipation, slowly increasing the sexual tension throughout the date. And this might take a longer time, but I'm telling you, once you master the rhythm, you will realize that the techniques doesn't matter at all. You know, a lot of my students, once they master rhythm, they realize that they can use the same techniques, the same sexual positions, the same ways of showing intimacy to each other, and they never get bored. Because by focusing on rhythm, you can create so much anticipation and sexual tension that alone is a very intense and novel feeling in itself. Then the last toxic mentality here is that you're focusing on a top-down approach, not bottom-up. And so if you've been following me for a while, you know my 5-step pillar. And the idea is that if you want to rebuild a relationship, you have to focus on the bottom pillar first and build it 1 step at a time, like a mountain, like climbing a summit. And so the problem here is that a lot of men think that if you just focus on the sex, if you just give her amazing sex, that everything else will take care of itself. All the problems will disappear. It's not true for women, because again, oxytocin and estrogen requires the presence of safety. And if you haven't built this safety, if there's still a lot of baggage in her emotions, if there's still a lot of fighting and arguing going on, no amount of sex is going to help the situation. And eventually, through all those arguments and through all those conflicts, the sex will disappear completely, because all your energy now is wasted on arguing and fighting and repressing all these feelings rather than giving to each other in a romantic sense. So what I would recommend to you is focus on the bottom-up approach. Build the safety first, build the admiration, build the goal alignment, and then what you'll find is that the sex will come more naturally, and the desire for intimacy and sex will be sustained for a much, much longer time, over many years, over many decades. So if you're interested in a free resource that can help you build these first 2 pillars here, which is emotional and psychological safety, then you want to check out the free guide I have for you in the description box below this video. And again, if you want in on that free masterclass where I talk about the proven 5-step system to rebuilding your relationship from the ground up, then you also want to check out the link in the description box below this video as well. And of course, if you want to connect with me on a more personal level, I have a free Facebook group that you can join where you can ask your questions, post your questions, and actually get good advice and support from me and other members of the group. So if you found this video helpful, then give it a like and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this one. And let me know, which of these 5 things did you find most eye-opening or most insightful for you? What was your main takeaway here? Leave a comment below and I'd love to hear your thoughts. In the meantime, be sure to watch these other videos to equip yourself with the right skills and knowledge to be able to create this relationship that thrives for many years to come. With that said, I will see you in the next video.